Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
How the hell can I be inside a man? I studied up on rabbits.
Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, new model day. How you doing? Yes, we are tackling for the next, at least 2-3 weeks. We are tackling the Kraken Pod, the pod from Innerspace. Now, I had been going back and forth between people and hardware and people, and this one actually combines both because it is mostly hardware, but there is a tiny Tuck Pendleton character in there. So it is also a figure build. So it satisfies both of those aspects. Much to say about this kit. Much to say. This is the Golden Armor kit. The files for printing it were purchased, and then they were printed for me. Now, I have printed some of these parts myself, but some of the bigger parts, some of the more complicated parts, I did not print. It arrived to me in a box with a note saying "good luck," and and I will need it. Now, I have seen Phil build his magnificent version. I have seen Phil's magnificent version up close and personal at the Sprueverse Ranch. I have seen it. It's a beautiful kit, and that's what pushed me over the line on this. Was over there last summer, and hopefully we'll be seeing it again this summer. But I said, yeah. Come to think of it, I do want one of these, so I just kind of been working my magic on Phil to see if he could print me up some of the larger parts. And this also, I will go ahead and say this movie is near and dear to my heart. I've always liked Innerspace. One of my favorite riffs on Fantastic Voyage. There's a lot, like I said, a lot to love about this kit. It's a Joe Dante film. You gotta love a Joe Dante film. The man has never made a bad film. He has my exact sense of humor, or I have his exact sense of humor. So we are simpatico on what we look for in entertainment. And so as such, I really enjoyed this film. Martin Short, manic performance ever since SCTV and Ed Grimley, and going way back in those days. But him playing the character of Jack Putter is just, mwah, it's magnificent. And of course, it's a Joe Dante film, so Bob Picardo is in it. Bob Picardo is in it playing the cowboy. Probably the largest, I would say, maybe outside of Matinee, probably the largest importance in a movie that Bob Picardo has. Usually he plays a cameo, a line or two here or there, but the cowboy is actually an actual character in this film that does move the plot along. That's one of two Star Trek references. I'll give you a second to guess what the second Star Trek connection is to Innerspace. But we're gonna come down here and do a meet the parts, but there are so many, really I could spend the whole day just introducing you to the parts. There's a lot of them right there, and that's not even the big parts. So we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna do some lighting. There's not any decals that can be done for this. So it's going to be lighting, it's going to be painting. Now, last time I had whined and moaned about the symphonies of black. This is going to be a symphony of silvers and off silvers and things like that. So we're going to try to find space, inner space, particularly on the inside, to add some color to this and to do something with lighting and do something with some color accents just to liven it up some. And now that you have had a chance to think about it, the second Star Trek connection to Innerspace is Jack Quaid. Randy Quaid and Meg Ryan's son. Had Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid not made this movie, we would not have Brad Boimler. We would not have the same Brad Boimler on Lower Decks, because he is the child of Randy Quaid and, Dennis Quaid, not Randy. Randy is the weird one. Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, who met on this film. So because those two meet, we get Jack Quaid. Because we have Jack Quaid, we get Brad Boimler. Because we have that voice, we have Lower Decks. So there's your two connections to Star Trek. So let's do somewhat of an attempt. Before, like I said earlier, I wanted to remember this to get it out. Both Randy Cooper and Phil Siegel have made spectacular builds of this, and I intend, whenever possible, to steal as many of their good ideas as possible. You can call it an homage. You can call it. You could call it outright theft. Just don't call their lawyers. I am going to be taking everything that I've learned from those two gents and applying it to this kit. Be doing some things my own way because I'm just a contrarian that way. Some things, there's no sense reinventing the wheel. Look at how your forefathers have done it and do it the same way. And then there are some things that I will be doing differently, having seen the results and having seen the process. I am going to be doing things maybe slightly differently. But let's get down to the table. Let's look at some of these parts, and let's start a meaningful discussion. Okay, here is the Kraken, specifically the Kraken 2, I believe it was called in the movie. I have it on a Lazy Susan or on a turntable because there is going to be no other way to really do this kit the way you're going to have to do it without being able to use a turntable. And in fact, that the movie dealt with it being spun on a turntable as it was being miniaturized is key as well. And when people ask me what scale this kit is in, I will tell them, as I always say, when there is a movie like Innerspace or Fantastic Voyage, it is 1-to-1 scale. It is actual size depending on where you are in the movie. There is a split second when this goes from full size to miniature that it passes through this size. So at some point, this is 1-to-1 scale. But if you look more carefully at the Tuck Pendleton character figure, once I get this lid out. Now this hatch will be made to open. I haven't done it yet, but there is a pin that will go in the hinge to let that be open so you can see down inside. But for right now, we're just going to take it off to the side. But you will see Tuck is in there, and I'm going to guess this is 1/8 size, maybe. No, Well, he's maybe more than 6 inches tall, so maybe 1/12 size. Who knows? It's like I said, at some point in the movie, it's actual size. Now I have just a bunch of the parts sitting on here from the forces of gravity. All of these parts are merely applied to the outer hull so that you can get an idea of the scope of this thing. Now there are also thrusters, motors, engines, turbines, steering mechanisms, and all of that go around all of it. Let me pull some of these details off so that you can get a better idea. Now this is all chock full of details back here as well. And this is, of course, lots of opportunity for pipage and hosage and things like that. Now, I'm going to take the top of this off. Things will probably fall apart, but I want you to see. How are we doing? Look at that. Not so bad, not so bad. And now we can see Tuck in his chair with all kinds of controls around him. These will have the opportunity to be lit. I'm going to remove that back wall so that you can see what's going on. A lot of these this is excellently printed in clear, that we can mask and paint from the back, and that way we can have lit buttons and lit gauges and things like that. Gauges and dials, everybody's favorite. We'll pull that out of the side. Lean it over. We have more on this side. More gauges, dials, hosage, and screens there. We'll have to do something to come up with some artwork for those screens. And then we have Tuck in his chair. Now, I'm being very careful because the excellently printed Tuck has a very finely reproduced headset on. And that microphone coming down around the side. You know, I don't know if that might have been better served to have been a separate piece. It's gonna break off at some point. I know it is. It's just going to be a question of when. But it's going to break off. So get used to looking at it now. It might not last too long. But then we've got the chair and all of that. Now, this is one hunk of resin. Take that off. It was 2 hunks of resin. This is the inner floor, obviously, inner floor. But this is one, and again, sorry. Now we're down to it. This is one big hunk and chunk of resin. I don't believe that I could have printed that with near this level of success and or perfection. So that alone is worth the time and effort to find somebody with a huge printer that could do it. This piece also this is also one piece, and it fits down over top like so. That's the glory and beauty of having a large format resin printer. But with every and you'll notice how these are all curved shapes, and it's not going to require a ton of sanding. Look at the quality of something like that, and remember how 3D printing was, 4 or 5 years ago. You would never see that level of smoothness. So it's really coming a long way. So we're in a better stance to do this kit now than we would have been for even 2 years ago, even 4 years ago, as far as the ability to have a nice smooth surface. Now, here's where we come into the 2 main issues that we're going to be finding ourselves addressing: lighting and hosing. This kit, this design, is just, like I said, chock full of lighting, and it's all exterior spotlights. So we're going to be doing our best to light those up with 5mm LEDs. Now, there are lights that go on the top hull, and there are lights that go on the sled underneath. And I'm going to be dividing those. From watching the film, my preference is to take all of the lights that are shining down and make those warm white, and all the ones that are shining at the top, I'm going to make those cool white. You will see the difference. It'll be much more noticeable once everything is up and running. But these little can spotlights, I think, will play better if they are cool white. And the ones that shine down, I think, will be better off if they are warm white. That's just my personal opinion. It has no basis in anything other than that. But the first thing we want to do, and I'm thinking even before we start putting any primer on these parts, is I want to go ahead and start doing some basic construction to get not only these parts off of the table and out of the way, but joined up in such a way that we are going to find ourselves with an easier time of working. When you are not having to, well, let me put it this way. I'm going to be doing a lot of delicate lighting here. Like here, this is a bank of 3 lights that go like, well, let me show you the actual lighting cans. The actual lighting cans go like that. Now, it's going to be easier for me to work on it this way if I've already got these skids in place, so that when I set it up, there's no weight on these. So I'm going to be building up these light modules at a time, and then applying them. But I want to be able to, once they're applied, not worry about breaking them off, for lack of a better term. So we're going to do some of the basic construction, and that is putting the big skids on the bottom, and that's going to help us, I think, along the way, a lot further along the way. And the other thing is, I know I'm doing a lot of talking, and I promise to stop real soon. A lot of the model, or the instructions on the model, they have an unhealthy reliance on magnets. There's an unhealthy reliance on, like when you get to the arms or when you get to the lights, of them wanting you to hold them in place with magnets so that you can move them and position them and all of that. I am not interested in making an action figure out of this kit. I want it to be more or less static. So once I decide what position the arms are going to be in, say, I'm going to probably end up gluing those arms in that position. I'm not going to be making this so that you can pose it and play with it. The same thing goes with these big thrusters here. Make sure you're in camera. Yes. These are meant to pivot like this. I'm holding this together because it's many parts, but let's take this. Let's just do the two main parts. If those are the two main parts and it's meant to go like this, well, I'm not going to sit there and play with it that way. Plus the fact it's resin, even today's resins, if you grind them against each other, they're going to start wearing out. So once I decide what position that's going to be in, I'm going to glue it in that position. So I am going to use a brass pin or a piece of brass rod to pin them together, but I'm not going to be, making it so that you can move it back and forth. And the same is going to be true with the arms as well. There is only one exception I can think of to that hard and fast rule, and that is I might make, see here are the two, here are the two versions of the hands. I might make it so I can swap these out if I want to, but I'll still use a metal pin to do that rather than a magnet. If I want to swap out a closed hand for a open hand, then I can do that. So that's my chief difference. So and that's not even talking about what's going on the inside. So what I'm going to do, because there are so many parts, is I'm going to start identifying what sub-assemblies I can do to take care of right away. I'm going to clean those parts up, make those sub-assemblies, put them out of the way until I am ready to add them all together. Then I think probably one of the first things I can do, other than put the skids on the bottom, as I've said, is I want to do things like I can do up the whole motor and get that ready to go and set that to the side, or the impeller thrusters, things like these light boxes. I can go ahead and get them ready to put the 5mm LEDs in. It's the thing I say about how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. You got to start with your one bite, and then you start working, and next thing you know, you are on a finished kit. And as you can see, the major construction is underway, and I've run into my first bit of customization. Now, this back piece needs to go on right like that, and it has two lights in it. It has two tail lights in it, and those need to be wired. Those wiring needs to go into the main body. There is no provision here, so I had to drill two holes. Now, why people will say to you, Lou, why did you drill two holes? Why don't you just build all of this up and then attach it with one hole? Well, the thing is, I want to get this structure on and kind of get all of these bits leveled up and sanded and affixed while we can still work on it, relatively unencumbered. And so all I need to do is I need to drill those holes out so that I can poke my wiring through. And let me see if I can find the bracket. Now, hold on a second. I'll show you exactly how it's going to match up. So I am going to file this under do a little brain power now and save yourself some time in the long run, because I've got 9 of these spotlights to do. Pretty much, yeah, I think there's 2. There's a bunch of them. I think there's either 8 or 9. 9 because there's 3 up front. It's an odd number. So the better off we are figuring this out now and then just duplicate it. So this is your typical lamp. It's got, all of these lamps have this insert that the bulb goes into, and this acts as the reflector, and then this goes into the can. Now the cans are 2 or 3 different designs. This can has 1 pivot on the back of it. So if we can make something that we can glue down inside there and have the wire. Now this one has the hole already printed in it, but I enlarged it to make this wiring come out. Now if we take this is the mount for this particular light. It's already got the through hole printed in it. This particular wire rod is not, or brass rod is not thick enough, but it gets the point across. That's how it fits. So this has to get mounted now to that part right about there. If that's mounted like that, then I would want to run a hole. Do I have my pencil? I had everything out here, but I didn't have my pencil ready. Where is my pencil? Never mind. I'll use the pointing device. I'm going to have to make a hole right here to accept this wiring to go in. Okay, see, I put it in place, drilled the holes, put it in place, and I can chase a wire down through there, so I'm good to go. I can see it on both sides when I'm doing that. I just will have to put the wire in before I mount the lamp, which, you know, isn't that tough of an idea. Okay, there's the hole, and shine a light on it. There. Okay, see, I can pull that through. Okay, I'm working on the bottom lamps, getting all the rest of the holes drilled. I'm just figuring out where my holes need to be before I glue that down. I've got the ski supports in. I've got this back piece in. And before I glue this down, I want to drill the holes for the, see, I found my pencil, for the bank of 3 lights that shine down in the front. If I'll turn this around so you can see it. These are a slightly different design. This one has a support in the middle and 1 hole below it. This has the hole coming straight out the back. The supports kind of come they come off the top instead of being in the center of the back. They're kind of off the side, so that allows the wiring to go like this. And I am drilling out, I'm just marking a hole here right behind each support, and then these will go up into the floor of the floor pan and disappear that way. So we've got 2 more mounts of lights that we need to deal with before we can close the chapter on this and I can put the drill away. And the first one is back here. Now I've just mocked up some of these parts. They're not glued in. But I want to show you that this set of lights here goes on this pivot. And we've got holes in the back that need to be enlarged of the cans. And then we have a wire that needs to come out of those cans and kind of, you know, go into the back of this somehow. We could, if we were really crafty, go through one of these lights, one of these holes in there, but I think that's a little bit too precious. But if we did something like that and then we ganged them up into a center hole there, then I can just go ahead and take this off, go ahead and take this piece out, and it'll be drilled through this applique piece and then into the back wall. There is one more set of lights up front here, and that goes on this mount right here, right up front. Those are the two spots that I want to drill out for wiring. That will finish. That will signify the end of the drilling for today. Now I can clean all of this area up and maybe even put a coat of filler on this. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? I am not great. My back has decided to go out on me again. I don't know why. Might have been lifting a 40-pound bag of birdseed. I don't know. Lots of things contributing to it, but it's not making me a happy camper this morning. So you'll also notice if you look and survey the workbench, a lot of the parts are missing, and that's because they are out either in the kitchen or on the deck drying. I have put a lot of black paint down this morning, a black gloss that will go underneath a lot of the metallics that we're getting ready to paint. Now that's strictly, I would say strictly external. I've not done any of the internal stuff yet. And yesterday I managed to get these three walls epoxy together. So I've got the main core of it. I haven't done anything whatsoever with any of the consoles or controls. That is all for work for another day. I did get, well, you were there, you saw it. I don't have to repeat myself of what I got done yesterday, but I'm going to do the last little bit of construction today as far as adding some last bits to the outer hull before I get ready to prime it and get it ready to start painting. I will stop in the middle of all of that to tell you that I came up with a lovely solution for the window glass. A 2-liter bottle. A 2-liter bottle, if you get the right piece of it, does a perfect job of the windows. Here you can see the it follows both contours perfectly, both the up and down and the side to side. Because of the way this is designed, you don't have a lot of change, but you do have some change on both dimensions. So this is the last piece for the center that fits right in here, but that follows all of the curves just beautifully. I'm going to refine this now that I know it works. I'm going to get even a better cleaner 2-liter bottle and clean that up a little bit more. This was basically just cutting it for proof of concept, and then we will do a better one. Oh, it's lunchtime, kids, and the blackening has been finished, I think, for today. I have sprayed with gloss black primer, the same stuff that I used on Sandy, on the majority of the parts that you're not seeing here that are either out on the deck drying or in the kitchen curing. And once I brought them back into here, things I painted the outside of, I went ahead and used the black Tamiya X1, just your plain old gloss black Tamiya for the insides. This was basically for looks because, or what's going to happen is I'm going to hit these with a metallic paint, and it's going to make the metal shine a little bit better because it's going over black. There are inside cones that are actually the light blocker that go inside each of these metal cans, and those will be the things that the LEDs attach to, and I am letting those dry in the other room. I've also got black on the lower hull and the hatch here. This is the regular primer filler that I normally use. That's looking great. I went ahead and sprayed some black on the interior just on the side walls here, just while I had black left in the brush. This wasn't done with the rattle can, that was done with the airbrush. But now I'm to the point where I want to let all this stuff cure. Again, here's the metal parts of the seat. Let all this stuff cure and set it aside, and maybe spend the rest of the afternoon working on the Spruverse challenge, because I'm still not done with that bloody thing yet. All right, I'm starting to put in some of the chrome silver now. I am doing this slowly but surely, and don't call me surely. We're going to start with the lenses for the LEDs. These are what go inside each of the spotlights. They will go in something like that, so you'll get plenty of punch from the light itself. And then we'll do a metal coat on the outside. Now, what I've got loaded up is a very bright chrome, and I don't want everything on this Kraken to be that bright chrome. Now, like the waffle plate here needs to be that chrome, and these big tanks need to be that chrome, but not everything needs to be that chrome. So I'm just trying to be very selective and not go overboard. Like, I want to make these hoses the chrome, but we're going to see how easily that's going to be to do. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's Wednesday. It's hump day, and I will tell you, a lot of work has already been done this morning whilst I was up early and listening to the radio. Have you ever had one of those times when you're mixing paint or you're painting something with an airbrush and everything's just coming out smooth and lovely and not a care in the world? Your spray is nice and even. The paint's going on like a charm. I had one of those mornings, and I got carried away. I had decided that I was going to use dull aluminum as my color, as my main body color for the Kraken, because I wanted other things to show up against it, and dull aluminum is a good base color, and it's got a nice shine to it, but it still allows other things to shine up against it. So I started spraying dull aluminum, which is this one right here. It is that one right there, dull aluminum from the Vallejo metal color line. And it was going on so beautifully that I got carried away, and I did everything. Everything that had to do with the body, I sprayed with the dull aluminum. And here's what it looks like. What I like about it is that you still have a bit of a shine difference between the chrome and the dull aluminum. You can see the difference right here as the different two colors. It makes a very beautiful contrast, and of course this piece will go on right here and still show up against the hull. Now I will say I'm the first to admit, not only because it's glaringly obvious and I have to admit it, but it's a true thing. I'm not going to deny a true thing. The true thing is that this is a 3D printed kit. This is a 3D printed kit that is being painted with metallic colors. And what do we know about metallic colors, kids? I'll give you a minute to remember. What we know about metallic colors is that they will show off every little surface defect that you have. Every bit of putty, every scratch in the under primer coat, all of that transfers straight through when you're using silvers and chromes and other metallic colors. And that is the death knell to 3D printed parts. Because sometimes you feel like a nut. No, because you are going to see all of the layer lines, all of the build lines are going to come straight through something that is printed and then painted silver. So the best you can hope for is to minimize some of that. Now, on these smaller parts, it doesn't seem to be a problem. Like, look at the tubing and the hosage there. This is a beautifully printed part, and I'm not seeing any build lines or layer lines on it. Because I know this was printed on a higher quality printer than the hull was. And the reason I know that is because the hull is so big, it was printed on an older printer. And that older printer had less resolution. And when the printer has less resolution, you get more layer lines. Now, the unavoidable result of all that is you are going to see the build lines in this hull. Because it is a big honking curve and nice rounded shape and wide open with planes that we don't have parts covering yet, you're going to see the build lines. Only so much of that can be mitigated. Now, yes, I could have spent a lifetime carefully sanding everything down, which would have been a lot easier had these pegs not been in place, because then it would have been a nice flat plane. You could just run a sanding cloth over that, but then you end up hitting these things. So my advice in the future to any designers out there is, if you're going to be designing a kit like this, don't put pins on the outside of that. Put the recesses on the outside, on your hull. Put the pins on your part, because that way when you put the pins on your part and you put them into the little pockets there, you could still sand around those pockets. See, this is going to go like that. And it doesn't matter whether the pin is on the inside part or on the hull. But if these had been the pockets and not the pins, it would have been a lot easier to get in there and just sand that. If you can see what I'm driving at there. So what we've got is a hull that's got facets that you can see. And I'm going to more or less embrace those because there's not a lot else I can do with them. Yes, I acknowledge the fact that they're there. It kind of fits the futuristic idea of this, but that is all one big honkin' rationalization for the fact that you're going to see these panel lines. Can't think of too many other ways around that. Like I said, other than spending a lot of time sanding down the hull and repainting it and doing all of that. Not as noticeable, not as big a problem on smaller parts, although it is still noticeable. So that is, and when you see how the bottom sled looks, I should go get that part next. But see, we're going to see things like that. See, that's it's regrettable. It's quasi unavoidable. Were I going to if this was going to be a kit that I was going to enter someplace, I would be way more picky about this. I accept it for what it is. I realize that it's going to look like a certain thing, and I'm going to add this proudly to my collection of kits, but I'm always going to know that those build lines are there. We are going to file this under Lou Can't Leave Well Enough Alone. Chapter entry number 8,000,006. One of the nice things about having a 3D printed kit is that you lose any fear of screwing up a part, because you can always print another one. Now, with two exceptions on this kit, and that is the top hull and the bottom hull, because that would take a huge printer. My huge printer hasn't been acting normally for close to a year now, but the smaller printer that I've got is giving me very good, very reliable results. So I took it upon myself, I said self, let's see if we could sand out those lines, because I wasn't liking them. Here, this one isn't as noticeable. This one was the lesser of the two evils. This one had some pretty noticeable build lines in it. So I said, you know, let's try to sand those out. And if worse comes to worse, I can always print a new one. Change the orientation on it a bit so that the lines are coming this way instead of at an angle. Something that would be less noticeable. And the sanding is coming out pretty well. The lines, if I had done this at the start, I wouldn't be in this mess. I just took the parts as they were and said, okay, well, not much I can do about it, and just started painting. Well, it turns out there is something I could do about it. So I'm giving these, and what really prompted this is that I'm getting ready to get out the dull aluminum paint to do the top of this, and also to do all of the spotlight housings I want to do in the dull aluminum. And I said, well, you know, if I get that paint out once, I want to get everything that I want to get painted with the dull aluminum ready to go at the same time. And that kind of got me onto this track of thinking, well, I'm wondering if I should try to make this a little bit better of a deal. And of course that led, you know, one thing leads to another. And I'm sanding this down now, and it's going to need a coat of primer on it before I can go straight to the dull aluminum. So I've kind of backed up and regrouped a bit, and now I am getting this ready for another coat of primer paint, and then I will re-black it, and then I will redo the dull aluminum. And the nice thing about having the black primer on here is when I'm sanding, you can kind of see where that is, and once I've kind of gotten that sanded off, the primer paint was like the thickness of the build lines. It tells me that if I can get that off, then chances are the build lines are gone as well. But what I'm going to do is put, like, oh, I don't know, maybe another 10-15 minutes into cleaning these up, and then I'm going to hit it with the black primer again. And if I still notice big build lines, then, and they're not going to be anything that I'm ever going to be able to remove, then I will make a judgment call there as to whether or not I just reprint the part. Friends, look at these beauties. Now again, we're not going to have the full picture until I put the dull aluminum on there, but Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy, that is so much better. It gives me pause about stripping down and resanding the entire rest of the ship, but I'm not going to do that because I'm no gluten for punishment. Also, again, those huge panels. The problem is, see, I was even starting to find it out here. I sanded this down, but then I realized if I did anything here, I would lose these little rivets. It's that thing that I've said 100 times before, and I never get tired of saying it. It's that thing about sanding a piece of 3D printed art that has a texture to it. Sure, you can do it, but you might end up losing that texture behind it, and it's not something that's not easy to put back. So we're gonna, now that these are all blacked up, we're ready to spray our we're ready to spray all of these things with a dull aluminum. The big news is we are going to be doing these pieces again in the dull aluminum, and I think I'm going to start with those, and I think we're going to do those on camera because I think everybody will be happy to see how glorious this paint is going to go on. Good, and now we've got the camera in position. We are ready to do the dull aluminum painting. Not that this is dull painting, this is very exciting painting, but the color is dull aluminum. Okay. Oh, I may have to schedule some alone time. Even Ms. Compressor is impressed by that. Now I can stick my big old thumb down in here because there's a part that goes there. Ookla, Fran, and Ollie. Look at that. Now I wish I had taken better pictures of this thing before I had started sanding it so you could appreciate it. But I gotta tell you, that is smoother than an Android's bottom right there. I'm gonna do the bottom part first this time. That will allow me to set it down while I'm doing the top part. Oh, mama. Oh. Yes, sir. I don't mean maybe. That is... Look how smooth and gorgeous that is. Oh. Morning, everybody. It's Thursday, gateway to the weekend. Another day on the Kraken. So, where we're at today is I want to get all of these lights situated. Now, yesterday, last night I glued them into the sockets, the LEDs into the sockets, and I put a bit of epoxy in the bottom there just to secure that they're in and good and in. Luckily, the cables on these are color-coded. These three are warm whites, and the rest are all cool whites. Now, the warm whites I want to put down in here. There's a set of three, or a bank of three cans that go here, and I'm going to put the warm LEDs in there. And then everything else gets a cool LED. And I think just breaking that up a little bit is going to do wonders for the look of this thing. This morning I've glued these two big tanks in. I took some CA and I CA'd those big tanks onto the bottom. I was going to mention last night was our monthly model meeting, and I went to the hobby shop and picked up some supplies, and amongst those supplies I picked up were a couple of new Molotov pens. I had one, was planning on using it. By the time I got around to it, I found that it had dried out. So what Molotov pens are good for, if you're not familiar with them, is they are a very high chrome, and you just paint it on like you're drawing, and you get a nice high chrome. Now, I went like a goon and touched these with my hands before they were completely dry, so I need to re-chrome the Molotov. Now, I also went in and put this pin in. I found some aluminum tubing that I had that was the right size, and I put some aluminum tubes to make the brackets work as they are supposed to. I am still toying with the idea of once I had the spotlights in position of tacking them in place with CA, but as for right now, they can pivot on that, on this bit of aluminum tubing. And the nice thing about it being aluminum tubing is it's already the color that it needs to be. I don't need to try to get in there with a brush. Like if I had used brass, or if I had used styrene, I would have to go in there and color them the final silver color. And that's something I don't have to worry about if I use aluminum that's already silver. Where this is going to come in handy is these pens will come in very handy when it comes to doing the instrument panels on the inside, because you can do really interesting things with touching the raised bevel or bezel around the instruments, and it gives you a nice chrome accent. We're going to file this one under "if there's a tool, there's a way." Sometimes I forget what tools I have. I'm used to using like the 4 or 5 same tools for everything, and then I sometimes forget that I've got these specialty neat things. Now, I was sent these long drill bits by a viewer of my channel, and I have eternal gratitude for you, sir, because what it's allowing me to do is to go in by hand and basically drill out this center stanchion. Now, you can't really, I don't really want to attach that to an electric drill because it'll get it spinning too fast, and this 3D resin is brittle. It does not carve. It is not like styrene that you can carve gently with a knife. You have to approach it very slowly and very carefully, and basically start with a smaller hole and work your way up to the size that you want to finish with, because it will crack on a heartbeat. It will shatter. Now, you can glue it back, but it's never quite as strong after you've glued it back. But what this is allowing me to do is to attack it from the side, go in through the first one, and then get all the way into the center. I could go in from one side, go in from the other, and then I'm left attacking the center one. But look what happens. I'm just testing this to see whether yeah, oh, beautiful, we're all the way through. We can use this aluminum tubing, which is so much better. As soon as I moved the camera out of the way, I was able to push that through the rest of the way. So those are great. I think what I'm going to do is position 1, get it where I like it, and then make the other 2 kind of match it in altitude or angle. I don't want them going off all akimbo. I want them to all be shining the same way. So it's going to be something like that for all 3 of them. And then I can go ahead and lock those into position. I have put shrink tubing around the back of the wire just to neaten up the impression or the appearance of those wires, but it has fallen inside the hull, so I need to pull that out and reattach it. And here are all 3 of the warm whites under the underside. They will be, I'm trying to bounce the light off of this, but I don't want it to be too high up. I want it to be about centered like that, so that it's just blinding enough when you look straight up at it. Now, if I angle all of these, put just a drop of CA in that joint to glue them in place, then I can pull the wiring up through the inside and neaten it all up. But that's looking pretty good. That's darn good work for 1 week. I gotta tell you, we're getting this close. Doing some planning on the internal arrangement of things and how it's going to work out, and I've already determined that, see this little hump here, it's a built-in hump in the floor support. It's a built-in channel for wiring to come out, but there's nothing on the back wall that is comparable to that. So I can tell that I need to chew this much out of the back wall so that that wiring can continue to come out once this is through, because that'll sit like that. I want to keep the area up here around his feet. I want to keep that clean, and the foot and the yoke come up like that. And there's this faux door in the front there where the, pull a chair out here for a second just to make some room. I was thinking of running the wiring from here straight down and back. I don't think that's going to fly now. I think what I'd like to do instead, see, I was thinking of running, you know, through a hole here and then down and then through the floor and out. But I think what I'd rather do is take this out. See, I've got all this area right in here. I can just pull this faux wall out, make a little nibble there, and then run my wiring down the side. There's plenty of channel, plenty of room to do that. And both of the side walls have these wonderfully big pockets in them, and also in here there's channels cut for wiring to go back. So I think what I'd like to do instead, or what I think is going to work better, is to take this out. We're going to cut holes here. Well, the holes are already drilled for the two lamps, but it's going to come out here and snake its way around the back and come out that way. It's going to come out that side. So I just need to put a little extra length of wire on there, and we'll be ready to button that much up. And here we have the front lights, the headlights wired in. I've got the wiring tucked into this alcove here. I've got plenty of extra wire running off the back. I've nibbled into the side walls there to give me a channel to run said wiring. And now all of this can run out to the back here and give me my up front headlights. I'm going to do something very similar to this when it comes to doing the lower 3 bank of lights. I kind of started on those and then forgot all about them when I jumped up and did the top lights. But let me show you what this looks like with some power to it. Let me I just stripped some wire here and I'm holding it with my finger on the battery. But when I turn this around, you can see we've got our front headlights. So I've got all of the spotlights that are on the sled part of this craft. There are 2 more spotlights that are on, like on the hatchback, even though I call it a hatchback, the slanted back. It doesn't open, it's not a hatchback, but that's what I'm calling it. But there's one more set of lights that come out that way. That will be attached to the top, but I've got everybody here hooked up. Now, outside of trying to do something flashy here, I got the battery round wrong way. There we go. We can see, well, you can't because of where the camera is, you can't see any of them. You can see the effect though. You can see the effect of the lights down here, the lights here, and the lights back here. So until I can run a proper power jack to that, that's as good as you get right now. Good morning, how you doing? It's Friday. It's the last work day of the week. The last work day on this Kraken for the week. I'm at a really good spot right now, I'm thinking. What I've done this morning is taking the masking off of these, and these tanks are looking really nice. The thing that was it was not bugging me, but something that was kind of troubling me a bit, and I went back and looked at the some references. I had too much of a shine on everything. This was too, I know it's metal and all that, and yay, we're happy, but the body, the base color was too, it was too shiny. There was not enough differentiation between that and the brighter accents. So what I did is I took some basic light gray, just here and there, hit it. I just did a mottled bit just to knock down the metallicness of just the overall body. I'm working with some gloss Tamiya's, which are, that can be its own fun. I was trying to do these external details for the outer side of the hull, and I'm working on things like these tanks, and I realized I didn't have a really good glossy yellow for the tanks and the Tamiya. So what I did was I painted them with the yellow that I had, the lemon yellow, and then I just sprayed a gloss or a clear yellow over top of it. And because the clear yellow gives me the gloss that I wanted, the gloss finish, plus it warms it up a little bit, makes it a little bit more orangey. But I put some gloss clear with that. I like this gloss. I realize it's probably wrong. It should probably be a flat. But by gum and by golly, I like the gloss on that. And who's to say that I probably won't put a flat coat over a lot of this anyway. So that goes on the hatchback. What I want to do is these small details here. There's a winch and some other details that go here. And look how much better those details pop now. That they don't that they're not fighting the glossiness behind it. So we got these details that need to go on first thing. Then I can kind of move this off. I'm thinking I want to leave these guys off until the day comes when I do the arm, and I can make that part of the arm assemblies. Right now I think they're just going to be, I think they're more in the way than anything else, but they also have that distinctive flat gray color to them that is not the silverish gray of the rest of the body. So I've got the details on the front now, and I know that there is pipage and hosage that goes from this area down into this and joins to the winch and all of that. That will come as a separate pass because there's a whole bunch of, that's a whole level of detail that needs to be done to the front and to the back. On the back hatch, and particularly once we get these guys in, because then they run the big hydraulic lines to the arms and all of that. So there's plenty of time and opportunity to do that. That's not today's goal. I want to get these parts down, and we've done that. And now we can move this off. See, there we go. I've got all those parts in. Now I need to move this off of the desk. I think we'll do this before we take this off. We'll go ahead and light everything up just to show you. There's the front lights. Oh my goodness, there's the 3 bottom lights, and then of course we've got the lights at the back. But that was the main achievement for this week, was getting all of these spotlights in and wired up. And here's the head back in, and you can see, hopefully it's more noticeable on the top than it was on the bottom, that I've put some gray over here. It really knocked that shine down off of that off of the semicircle here. So now we can go ahead and put things like these in, these accents, and they will stand out a little bit more. There's a silver line, almost a chrome line, that needs to be painted down through here, and I think I'll mask off and get that painted on before I get in here with these other pieces, because once we do, we're never going to be able to get behind that to paint the rest of that detail. And so let's mark this or mask this off and paint that silver line. Just been having a little fun with the again with the, this is the metal color Vallejo chrome. I cannot stress how wonderful this paint is. It's a very good chrome, but you gotta mix it. You gotta shake it and shake it and shake it. But once you go on, once it goes on beautifully. But I'm playing with the chrome to get the strapping on these tanks. This one that goes up here, and various other little metallic accents. I did get these lines put in that needed to go, so that I can now do the do these bits and not have to worry about trying to paint behind things. So we're going to tackle this bit by bit. I think we're going to start on this side. There are 3 points of attachment. Well, let me first take this out. We don't need that in there. That's needlessly complicating things. But this attaches here at the front, there at the side, and there at the back. And I'm thinking what I'd like to do is maybe get clamps ready, so that, because this has got a little bit of give to it, I want to clamp those 2 spots up against the hull nice and tight. Well, this is so much fun, I forgot to turn the camera on. I love it when I can start putting construction, when I can start putting pieces together. And not that there's not all that much to build on this kit. On the outside, certainly not as much. The interior is going to be a different animal altogether. But look at that. That's looking great. Now we've got this one last bit to go on here. That's got our spotlights. And then there's one detail that goes in there after the spotlights go down. But the first thing I want to do is feed these wires through. Feed these wires through the hole that I have pre-drilled. There we go. Let's get these off. There we go. Now everybody's in and happy. Now these point mostly down. I mean, I can get them probably to about there. And then I should probably hit that joint with the CA to lock that in. Yeah, I found a seam that I don't like. Well, there's very few seams that I do like. But I found one I don't like. But there's no real way around it other than filling it in. And because I put the parts together exactly as they're supposed to be. It's right here. What happens is that this piece is sitting on top of this raised strap, or this raised detail here. And there's no allowance made for that in the part. So it's sitting the same thickness as this away from the hull. And I think what I'd like to do is, I have some silver tulip. It's at the very top shelf that I'm going to have to grab. But I think I could fill that in with some silver tulip just to make that seam go away, because I'm not liking it. And it doesn't get covered up by anything else. It's not one of these things that you can kind of hide behind another, another piece of bodywork. So it's got to be addressed. So let's pull that out and lay in some, not exactly putty, but silver tulip. So here is the finished top. Well, finished for this week. Lord knows we've got many miles to go before we are done. But we've got a healthy start at it. We've got lots of pipage and hosage to go on back here. This has to run up to somewhere. This has to be a hose that comes off of this tank that goes somewhere. A whole bunch of connections in there that have to be done. So yeah, there's plenty to do there. Same thing around the front. I was just touching up a little bit of paint there. Hope you don't mind. You caught me unawares. There we go. Okay. And now, you know how I feel about making your models playworthy. And this is a model. It's a static kit. It's not meant to be a toy. However, one exception is I did want to make the hatch operable so that you can see down inside there, because the view in through the windows is going to be fairly restrictive. And while I was at it, yes, I did a little thing where I made the hatch wheel spinnable. I mean, all you had to do, the hole was already there. All I had to do was put a brass pin between the two hatch cranks, and there you go. We've got a movable hatch. So here's a quick look with the lights engaged. Now you'll have to pardon me. These ones are not hooked up yet because they can't be joined to the front windows or the front lights for a while. Here you can see the yellow ones from underneath, and there are the front lights. Let's see if I can tip this up. Tip this up so you can see the underneath lights. There you go. That's the underneath lights. Now this is normally the part of the episode where I say, yeah, I'll tell you a litany of all the things that haven't been done yet. And certainly there is a blue million things that haven't been done yet. But as far as getting a good start on a project that's supposed to take a few weeks, I think we did an admirable amount of work. See the next, no, I'm not even going to try those because I got to trim them up. The next thing to do, we're going to start next week, is the interior. The interior I've started some preliminary work on, but really we haven't gotten too far down that road at all. We have the interior to do. We have, of course, the big manipulator arms to do. That will take a while. I'm going to figure out or commit myself to which versions of which hands we're going to use. I'm not going to try to make them swappable or anything. But we're going to put the hands on, the arms on here, and then we're going to combine that. Since we have to do all the hydraulic tubage, we're going to combine that with the rest of the tubing. So that's going to be like the last stage. The next stage will be doing the interior and sinking that down. I've got these big motors done. I've got the engines done. I want to avoid putting them on, putting them in place until we're done, because they're just so cumbersome. I want to make sure I've got the interior, because I'm going to be doing a lot of lifting the lid off and putting the lid back down, and that's going to be so much easier to do without these big guys attached. But they're done. They're ready to be added. They just haven't been yet. So this is about as clean as it's ever going to be. Get used to looking at that, because it's going to get dirtied up once we start doing some of the gackage. And there's still the limitations of the printing right in here. I can still see those lines, but I'm loving the rest of it. And that, friends, is it for week 1 on the Kraken. Got a lot done. I like the idea of spreading these out over a few weeks, though, because it really requires that much work, and no sense rushing through it. I got, precious room to spare it as it is. I don't need to be cranking out a model a week like I have been. We're coming up on Nuts Month. I'm calling it Nuts Month. I know May is Peanut Month, I believe, here in North Carolina, if I remember correctly. But it is also Wonderfest month, the end of Wonderfest, and I've got a big trip coming up ahead of Wonderfest. So everything that I want to get done for Wonderfest, I've got to get done, frankly, by the 10th of May. You can see where my head's going. So that's week 1 on the Kraken. We've got a full slate for next week. Got plenty of things to do. So until then, y'all be good. Be good to each other. Be safe. Be smart. Be good to yourselves. and get busy because summer is upon us. It is nigh. It is well nigh. So until next week, y'all be safe.